I'm Hokey Joker.
Bat Drew.
Green Lantern.
And welcome to Just Us Bros Podcast. Hey bros, welcome back to Just Us Bros Podcast, and welcome to the October Thunderdome, where we pit two iconic movie villains against each other to see whose bloodbath comes out supreme. As always, I'm Hokey Joker.
I'm Bat Drew.
I'm Green Lantern.
All right, this guy against this guy in a battle royale of horror villains. Who do you got? All right, GL, who is your villain versus villain, and who's coming out on top? Or who do we think is going to come out on top?
Villain versus villain. Frankenstein's monster versus Chucky. Little guy versus big guy. Undead versus immortal evil spirit trapped in a doll.
But you got Frankenstein's monster who has a heart of gold going up against the pint-sized murderous Chucky.
But Frankenstein's got that monster strength.
And he would have to use it in self-defense, obviously, because this little tiny demon's trying to kill him.
Yeah.
And who would win in that fight?
Oh, I think Frankenstein's monster, hands down.
How would he kill Chucky?
The same way the humans did. Just like wait.
They never did.
Yeah.
He keeps coming back.
I'm just trying to remember how Chucky does come back.
He was a serial killer, right? And then he ended up getting reincarnated into a doll's body or whatever.
Yeah. So the only way that for him to transfer in a different body is do the whole incantation, and that it has to be on, because the longer he stays in a doll's body, I forgot how the rules work with Chucky, but
he's pretty agile too. So Frankenstein's first got to get his hand on him.
I think the rule of Chucky was the first person he reveals himself to, that's the body he has to possess, and he only has a little bit of time to do so to become mortal, because over time his doll body becomes a real body, and they can just like he just becomes like flesh and blood inside this little plastic toy.
But then can he redirect his spirit to something else?
Only for a certain amount of time, and it has to be to the first person he reveals himself to. Living person.
So is Frankenstein's monster a living person? An amalgamation of body parts that come to life?
Or does it have to be a soul? Because it's always, Chucky always plays hide the soul. That's what he calls the game. So, I think, depending if this was set in Frankenstein's time frame, 100%, I think Chucky would win. Modern day Frankenstein.
So you're saying Frankenstein's been living amongst us for centuries or a century plus, and now he's in the modern world, and Chucky comes, and Frankenstein is just like,
pretty much. I think he just has to outlast him, because what are the chances Chucky would run into somebody and reveal himself and then possess him? I think it would be a lot easier back when like there wasn't as many people. So he could
could he potentially possess Frankenstein's monster? That body?
I'm gonna say no.
Like plot twist, somehow he kills the spirit of the monster and then his soul goes into Frankenstein's body?
It's not so much they kill, it's that they swap bodies. They go all Captain Ginyu on them. And it has to be like that. But I think the physicality, whoever is in possession of the Frankenstein's monster's body will win that battle.
But we don't know at the end of the movie whether it was Chucky or whether it was the true Frankenstein's monster.
Do not know. What if it's Dracula versus a horde of zombies?
The Dracula or a Dracula?
A vampire.
Can it be Nicolas Cage from Vampire Diaries? I'm a vampire.
Well, he didn't actually become it, because my thought is that they're already undead. So does Dracula or the vampire biting the zombie turn them into zombie vampires, or does that make him become a zombie vampire?
Well, how does technically define zombie?
They're both zombies, undead.
Yeah,
they're both undead. But can Dracula or can a vampire's bite on an undead body? Like if Dracula just goes to a cemetery, digs up a grave, bites the neck, will that then have life and turn into a vampire, or is it just?
But also, I think a big turning point or a key to this. I think zombies wouldn't attack an already dead thing. They usually go for live flesh that they attack. Hence why they don't eat each other in all these horror tales.
Also, it depends on what kind of zombies you're talking about. They could, I guess most zombies are brainless, so they don't think. Is
No,
that the kind of zombie we're thinking about? Because
I,
some iterations they can have thought and actually plan things out. And
I'm gonna say I'm gonna go with the most brutal version of that, like the Zombieland sort of ones that are just fast and will get after you no matter what.
Like 28
I,
Days
I
Later.
think I think if they were after Dracula for whatever reason, obviously they're not gonna kill him because he's undead, but they could potentially hold him down long enough for sunlight to hit and then he die from the sunlight.
The zombies know no
What
other than getting their brain bashed in.
right. So if we're talking about hordes of zombies against one vampire and the vampire can't get away, he's just being overpowered because there's so many of them and they're on top of him and fights and fights and fights till daylight. I can see the zombies winning.
But yeah, I was gonna say, so just like I did with the time frame element, if it was 5 a.m. or an hour before dawn and they square off in an open field, who you
I
taking?
think he's going to have the speed and the strength to put them all out, decapitate
And
them
it
pretty much.
and it depends on how many too, because time's working against Dracula.
Yeah.
25.
Well, if it's
Oh,
only
Dracula's
25,
gonna
then he's going to take,
he's
yeah.
gonna take them all.
So then the last question I would have is how many zombies in a 1 hour fight with Dracula would it take to kill him? An hour before sunrise.
1 million zombies.
Yeah,
Whoa.
I'd say thousands, if not tens to hundreds of thousands, just constant droves and constant fighting. But also, can Dracula just like run away until it's time to fight him again?
Well, if it's the aggressive zombies, they never sleep. They're not like rest. Like they're
Well, he
always
doesn't need to sleep. He just needs to be out of sunlight. He can
yeah.
go into a dark forest. He can go into a cave.
He can turn
If
into
they
a
follow him
bat
into
and
the
just go in a tree.
yeah,
Well, at night.
All
I
right.
think I think Dracula's got the upper hand in most situations unless he forgets about the sun.
All right, Badger. What's your matchup?
For the horror movie villains against a horror movie villain, keeping them both being supernatural creatures, and they kind of are almost the exact same thing, but not technically. How about one of GL's favorites, Samara from The Ring,
Nope.
versus versus what is her the ghost, the main ghost from The Grudge? I think her name was something like Kayoko. I know her son was like Toshio or something, but the Grudge girl against the Ring girl, and
So
they're
I never
fighting
watched The
to.
Grudge. She looked too much like the Ring Girl, so I never watched The Grudge. But what are her powers? Like, what's her background?
um vengeful ghost of a woman, I think that was murdered by her husband, and I guess they're just like terrorizing people who live in the house where she was killed, I think, or she's latched onto this family and is kind of terrorizing them.
So the only scenario I see this happening is they move into this house and ignore the creaks and spookiness going on. They watch the tape of the Ring Girl, and right when like a week later, when the 7 days hit, they are like both are ambushed by them.
Both. And then
Yeah.
the person actually gets away, but then the two creatures end up fighting each other for dominance of the said household, I guess. Maybe. Because I don't know who would win there. I would maybe say the Grudge Ghost, because she may have help from her son,
Yeah.
because he's also in that house too. If it is in the house, but if it was like in a different location where I guess she's tracking down a family, but also that family watches the tape, and 7 days later, and it's not in her house where she was murdered, so it's somewhere else. So I wouldn't know how that would end. But it would be really creepy because I don't think I've ever seen two supernatural forces. I mean, there probably has been, but I don't think I've ever seen it that go face to face against each other. So I would think that would be interesting to see.
What if
Because the Ring Girl's main motivation is going to be trying to kill whoever watched the tape, but the Grudge person is going to be after the Ring Girl for being in their house.
So
So
get out of my house, or I know I gotta take
the
this person out.
main motivation of the Ring Girl is that people watch this tape, see the horrible things she's been through, and then just watch it like, oh well, it doesn't bother me. So she kills them for ignoring her. I feel like that could just be a good chance for a collab. Be like, hey,
Oh my God, having them work together, that would be kind of like if Superman fought Goku. Like, we don't need to fight each other. Let's work together.
Yeah.
not like a circus, but like a movie theater. Like people like they move into the house, they get scared. Like the grudge thing makes them watch the videotape, and then like, here, take this or I'll kill you to your friends, or like they move out, the next people come in, like you bring someone to move into this house, and they just perpetually watch the movie. And
Okay,
what the grudge's son like go up and just like turn the TV off to win that fight though, or hit
maybe
rewind.
I don't know, but you kind of just I think made me a little bit frightened. I was putting them against each other. Now that they're working together, I don't think I'm gonna go to sleep tonight.
Hashtag girl boss.
Oh,
Because now that I'm thinking about it, I think two scenarios. One, she comes out the TV, kills the family, but then the grudge girl confronts her. Or two, she comes out the TV, grudge girl confronts her, family gets away. She's either gonna ignore the grudge girl to go after the family because her job is to kill the person on the seventh day, or she's gonna get sucked back into the TV, go back to her well. But what if the grudge girl goes back in TV with her?
so different fighting territory there. Yeah. So, damn it, I think I created a nightmare for myself thinking about them working together.
And
Oh.
like they have a business model.
Girls get it done.
Girls get it done.
Yeah, I can't think of a winner in that one. I don't can't think of a winner or a loser in that one.
The winner would be the audience if they ever made a movie like this. The losers would be the victims if there were any.
Guys, 7 days later.
Well, what if the grudge is watching what if the grudge is in the room while the family watches the
Ooh, okay,
video?
yeah. So she's actually watching the tape too. So technically, she has to kill the grudge girl because she's in the room with the family. While the,
She
so
would have
yeah,
to kill that would be the motivation. She has to kill her
that
because
would
she watched
there's
the
the
tape too.
motivation because she watched the tape too. Because yeah, she was there.
I don't even remember how either one of those movies like ended. So like how did
I don't want to remember.
They all lived happily ever after in a big mansion with Princess Peach and Bowser. I mean Mario, not Bowser.
Preachers, 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 preachers.
I think we're at a loss on that one. And GL, do
What
you
do
have
you
one?
guys think?
Yeah, what do you guys think? GL, did you have one more that you wanted us to try? I know you said like not the
I
block.
think
I do have one more, but it's not technically a horror villain versus a horror villain. It's more of horror movie characters, but it's also a team up. So for another one that I would have, I would want to see a team versus a technical team. Like let's say, um, 28 days later or 30 days a night.
Ooh, 30 Days a Night.
If somehow the 30 Days of Night vampires were in no, okay, let's go with this. The 30 Days of Night vampires in Alaska come to terrorize the town like they did in the movie, but something brings two characters there to just for random their own random missions, but they end up having to team together to end up taking down these vampires because these vampires are getting in the way of what they need to do. So it's the 30 Days a Night Vampire Army team versus the team of Selene from Underworld and Blade from obviously Marvel Comics. And I don't know how many creatures were in 30 Days of Night, so let's just go for a good number and say 25 against those two.
Does Underworld have the lycanthropes?
She does not. This will be her from the first movie where she just has basic vampire powers because that's throughout the movie she keeps getting all of these other skill sets and whatnot. So the first Selene, like she's just straight up vampire. So no other extra curricular powers or lichens or anything else.
I'm going with Blade. Blade just by himself could do it.
Yeah, yeah. Are the 30 Days of Vampire? Am I remembering correctly that the longer without sunlight, they were more powerful because it was that many days consecutively without sunlight?
And that's
I
why
think
they were there because it was so many days.
yeah.
So
And
wouldn't
also,
Blade and Celine benefit from that as well? It still would only be two
yeah.
against 25, but
Yeah.
But let's say they don't benefit from that, but 30 Days of Night Vampires do. And I think there was actually a sequel to that movie, which no one needs to see. Don't worry about catching it because
so
just watch the
so
first
we're
one.
we're saying we're saying Blade and Selene gets there on day 29 when they're like
Supercharged.
pretty much their
I'm
most powerful.
I'm going to say Blade has still got it because even with when Josh Hartnett became one, he beat the one guy. Like so, like he injected himself, punched a hole in the back of his head, and then when the sun came up, he just or end gamed himself into oblivion. So I think Blade can just come up and be like, I got tired of trying to ice ski uphill or whatever he says.
I ski uphill.
Oh, that hurt me to hear you say that.
I got
Especially
tired of
when he
trying to
sounded like
ice ski uphill.
especially when he sounded like Foghorn Leghorn.
Well, I
I
say,
say, I say.
I gotta go up skate a hill. But of course, me personally, I would say yes. That's the team that's gonna win. But you never know.
They
Ooh,
they've
okay,
got more.
okay. What if
I,
yeah? What if instead of Blade, what if it was Van Helsing and Celine, or even just
oh,
Van Helsing versus the 30 Days of Night Vampires? 25 of them
again, he's got
supercharged.
what centuries at this point of fighting and killing vampires?
Hugh Jackman one from the mid 2000s.
Yeah,
Hugh
sure.
Jackman, when technically he was centuries old, but he had amnesia, so he kind of forgot that he was super old. And eventually did turn into a werewolf. So I don't know. Maybe that would be. I don't know.
Yeah, ooh, I would say he's. I still got to give it to Van Helsing though, just because he knows dealing with vampires.
But he almost got his ass kicked by three brides in the first movie, or the not the first movie, but the movie back in the day before he got vampire powers, or not vampire powers, sorry, werewolf powers.
I'm going by Batman rules though. Like he knows how to deal with them. He had like that one like stake gun where he just shoot wooden stakes with it.
But he also needed
Yeah, but
holy
are
water for that.
and also the vampires he fought weren't supercharged with 29 days of or 30 days of
Darkness,
no
darkness. Yeah,
sunlight. And aren't they more powerful and more feral the longer they've gone without feeding?
maybe
Why do we all want to fight vampires?
because we know there's a chance. Like I ain't fighting a werewolf. I don't think I'm gonna make it.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't even remember. Like with the 30 Days of Night, like they were like, oh yeah, vampires are stoked in like this, like, but there's so many things. Like, what are their weaknesses again? Because they could be written like, oh, their weakness is silver. Well, maybe that's just made up.
They've well, they've also pretty much had to just outlast them in that movie.
Yeah.
And also, they were just regular scared humans in that movie trying to survive against vampires. So that was their Achilles heel is that they were just regular people.
Okay, I've got an interesting one. It's not really. I would say this movie is sub horror, not super horror, but sub horror. Um, the angels from the movie Legion, um, against Constantine,
Ooh,
Mm.
ooh, ooh.
because Constantine knows how to put out demons, but has he ever? I'm sure he has, but can he put down angels?
Ooh,
That would be a
uh,
fun fight to watch. Also, that's kind of a shot reference towards Supernatural season 5-ish. But I
Oh, really?
digress. Yeah, kind of, sort of, but not really. But no, no, yeah, Constantine, because as as Pogo over there said, um, prep time, Constantine would be like, "Oh yeah, I can take out these demons." Sure. Wait, they're not demons. They're angels. What? He wouldn't know what to do there. Or maybe he does, but he hasn't practiced long enough to understand the best tactics and way to do it. So that would be interesting. That would be where he would be at a disadvantage.
Like holy water's not going to work, obviously. He'd
He'll
almost
be like,
need
refreshing.
he'd almost need like hellfire or something, which I'm sure he can conjure hellfire.
and he's
Can't
so
angels
yeah,
also like fight against hellfire?
and he's doing this by himself. He's not calling on Etrigan the demon for
I mean,
assistance.
he could,
He might have to.
but will Etrigan work with him, or will he have to also fight Etrigan? Okay, let's say it's Constantine and Jason Blood against the angels from Legion.
Again, I'm saying the fans win this because I wouldn't know.
Hey,
Considering Tyrese beat him, I think Constantine and Etrigan have a good shot.
so Gio, you have to do your impression of the angels turning in from humans to the demonic looking angels.
My impression?
Yeah, I remember. I remember when we saw that movie. You came out, and you were doing an impression of like at least the ice cream driver when he was driving his truck. He's, you
Hold up,
know,
let me. That?
yeah, that's exactly. Yeah.
Hold on.
Did you screech?
Yeah. Did you hear it?
No. It didn't.
Really?
It didn't pick it up.
Hold on. Let me try again.
I think because it was so loud that the Zoom cut it off because it was so loud.
I think it picked it up on yours. That's weird. Hold on. Let me do a.
Nope.
Really? It's not picking it up at all.
Uh,
I remember at one point in time we would be able to do that screech like the 30 Days of Night Vampires.
I'm doing it loud as shit. Jerk, can you hear it through the? Can you hear it
I mean, I can hear you doing it, but no, I can't hear it on
like
the
through the wall?
headphones.
You can hear it through the wall.
Yeah.
But
Is Luffy freaking the fuck out? Or
Nope.
she don't give a damn?
She's asleep. So just take the sound. No, don't take the sound bite. We already got in trouble for copyright infringement. So never mind.
all right, bros. Who do you think would win those matchups? I don't know. Maybe we all lose in that. But anyway, guys, tell us who you'd pick to win. As always, I'm Hokey Joker.
I'm Slappy the Clown. There it was that time.
We got it. Until next time, guys. Cheers.